Okay, we have so far been doing visualization of data by looking at the imported data or exported data for a given node. So after running the node, then you have exported data, and then we click explore, and that gives you basic statistics here, and then you can go and click the plot icon and then select various kinds of plots, okay, which is good. And usually you would do this more at the time of selecting the role and level of the variables in the metadata screen. But once you close this, all those graphs that you have set up are gone. Okay, so if you want to keep them and come back to them and look at it some more, then you have to recreate them unless you use some of these. Okay, so we have there are two different nodes that we can use. Okay, so one is Graph Explore. You bring Graph Explore into the diagram. Okay, connect it, and you run it. You click results. Okay, so now you see for the variables that are identified as target, so you have histogram if it is an interval target, it's a bar graph if it is a binary or nominal target, right? And then we have some sample table of the observations, and then we have output log. Okay. So now if you go into, if you select the sample data, the plot icon will light up, and then if you click, you are now back to this familiar plotting screen. But the difference is that whatever charts that you set up here, it will be there as part of these results in the node. So you can come back to the node results, and all of those charts will be there for you to look at. You don't have to recreate them. Okay. So we'll come back to this. Well, let's go ahead and plot something here. Say on parallel axis plot. Okay. Parallel axis plot. What that does is that it creates one y-axis for each variable that we select. Okay. You can select as many variables as you want. Then it will convert the values in between the scale of 0 to 100. Okay. All the values will be converted into a scale of 0 to 100. So all the variables will have 0 to 100 scale. And then each observation will be plotted by connecting the values of each of these y-axes. Okay, so let's go ahead and set which variables must be used in the axis. Okay, so I'm going to select. Okay, now let's use Chaz. That is what the property abets Charles River, right? So
which chart type did you select?
Parallel. So you have parallel axis, right? Parallel axis chart. Okay. So I'm going to select age, and let's use Chaz, which is a binary variable, for color and crime rate. All that. Okay. Now remember, med v is an interval variable, it's an interval target. and I'm leaving out cat med V because cat med V is derived from med V, median value. Cat med V is category of median value. So I'm leaving out cat med V. Is that okay? Then let's click finish. That creates this parallel axis chart. But usually parallel axis chart is easier to understand in a horizontal orientation instead of a vertical orientation. So what I'm going to do is right click and change the orientation to horizontal. Okay. All right. What this does is it gives you. Okay. Remember that we're coding for color is Charles River. 0 is blue and 1 is red. Then you can now see the connection between all the variables. So each line here is an observation. Okay. So each line it plots this is okay. So they are all in 0. Well, actually, the same height. Okay, so it's 0 to 100, 0 to 100, except that it gives you the actual values there. They are all converted into the same scale in the plot. So in the parallel plot, the x-axis is 0, and the y-axis, the maximum height of the y-axis is the largest value for that variable. Okay, so the same height is used for all the variables. Okay, so you see that the plot, each line is an observation. So this observation has that value for proportion built before 1940, and then somewhere around here for per capita crime rate, and then whatever the next value is. So it plots the observations values in each of those axes and connects them, and it does that for all the observations. So what you get is an overall view of how the values distribute across the variables. Okay. Suppose we want to change this, remove the median value from here and actually plot the cat med V as the color. So then we can contrast between high value property and low value property, if you will. Okay. So if you want to change the variable roles, so what do? Well, you right click and go to data options. Okay. So now we can change. So suppose we change this to axis, right? That one to color and med V to none. Okay, so now click OK. Then you get a picture of how the values turn out to be. So now 1 is cat med V greater than or equal to 30,000. Okay, so red lines are more expensive homes and blue lines are less expensive homes. And then you can get a feel for how the values turn out to be. Okay. So bounds Charles River, you see all the red lines go up here, all the blue lines go down here. Okay. So it gives you an overall understanding of the entire data set. It takes a little bit of examination to fully comprehend what the plot is trying, what information you can glean from the plot.